This is what it's about. Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli, INEOS Team UK. Who's got the boat that can do the job today? That will be the question.
Staying on your foils in this early going, Shirley, before the sea breeze really mixes in, which they're expecting a couple more knots, maybe later in the day. But certainly not making that pre-start mistake, that mistake that puts you in the water. And like we saw in race number 1 with these two teams, essentially one boat sailing away.
The wind sampling period is complete, and this race will start on schedule.
And we're going to have a race.
Good news. I mean, as you say, Kenny, it's actually quite puffy as the sea breeze establishes itself. We've seen between 8 and 11 knots as we've been building up, and a difficult decision really for each of the team, you know, which jib to go with.
We know that INEOS Team UK have the larger of the jibs, known as a J1. So that's the biggest. You can have the light here. But a smaller jib, we understand, on that boat there, Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli.
Yeah, Nathan called that one, and that is exactly the telling feature, that we think Luna Rossa is a little more slippery and able to get up on the foils a little more effectively than the British boat, so they can go with a smaller jib. Remember, when you're in the water, you need power to get out of the water. Once you're out of the water, you need to get rid of power because that turns into drag very quickly.
Let's talk quickly about engaging in the pre-start. Do you think INEOS surely engage in the pre-start or stay away from it just to make sure they get up and go?
Well, there's enough breeze, potentially enough breeze, that it's not necessarily a concern that they're going to get stuck in the water. I think we will see fireworks. Ben Ainsley, he has ice going through his veins when it matters most, and you know, I think we'll see some aggression.
On the other hand, Stephen and Shirley, there is the case that they're more nervous about coming off their foils. So you want to just stay away from the other boat and get off this line easy. Whereas if you're Luna Rossa, stick them both in the water because you're going to get out faster and get away.
6 seconds before Luna Rossa come in on port entry. They're allowed in from 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And INEOS Team UK in at 2 minutes. They're flying in on the right-hand side, INEOS. And in come Luna Rossa, and it'll be on time. In come INEOS Team UK. So now it's game on. And will Jimmy Spill and Francesco Bruni try and force INEOS off the foils? That'll be one part of the equation.
Well, a starboard tack boat, which is INEOS UK, actually is at a small disadvantage because they have to do more maneuvers than the other boat. Remember, maneuvers in this light fluky condition are scary. You come off the foils much more commonly when you're doing a tacker jibe, but they pull off that first jibe just fine.
Boundaries 45 away here. 28. This is coming up starboard lane now.
A little soft on the lower here.
Yeah. Mowing starboard lane.
There we go.
Boundary 30 away this course. 120 start. 50.
The Italian boat will pick its time back to the line right now. Then it's up to Ainsley to either lead back or follow and push. If he thinks they're early, he will go beyond them. And it looks like he's going to do that.
He's soaking. Still on starboard. Straight. Boundary 10 away.
2, 1, 4 down.
60 seconds to race start. Race number 5 of the Prada Cup final.
Oh, Ben Ainsley setting up to windward, and now he has the choice, either gap off, and we've seen that been really a great start to get, or if there's enough time, get the hook.
Can Prada slow down enough to kind of force the issue with the Brits, though? That's that they've been practicing this maneuver on slowing down high and slow like they're going right now. Can they box them out?
Killing 6 at the starboard end, killing 5 at the starboard end, still favour starboard.
Pushing out.
On board with Giles Scott. Right now, Prada is in a nice little spot.
Ben Ainsley lining up for the hook, pushing the Italians down the line. Both of them are out.
Don't get closed out.
Killing 2.
Stand by, board down, board down.
Board's going down.
Got underway. Both teams across the line early. Both teams across the line early. What a start to race 5 of the Prada Cup final.
Both pushed their protest button. Both thinks the other one fouled.
Penalty GBR. Both boats OCS, which is neutralised. Penalty GBR.
Wow, both boats OCS, Shirley. That means both were over early, but that was neutralised because they say they went even. All of a sudden, the British have a penalty for either windward leeward barging, whatever you might call it. There were probably
Penalty's
any
gone.
number of different fouls
Boundary
right there.
16.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure we'll see it again, but it looks like the British tried to squeeze in the space that wasn't there.
Okay, going board.
The bottom line is they're going to have to get behind the other boat, Stephen, right now.
My wheel
They're
here,
going
my
to
wheel
get
here.
off
Coming
of
at
their
us.
penalty by getting behind the other boat, and they have.
Good pressure still inside right team.
Board down, go, go.
Hang on. 30 knots. Making height now. Working up.
Building.
Okay,
Yeah,
55, 31 knots.
Your wheel.
My wheel.
Your wheel. Another penalty.
Nice. Are we going to play across here?
Yeah, no, he's
You hear Squadron complaining about this. There should be another penalty because they got an advantage out of it. I think he's actually got a case.
Good more pressure coming in.
Yeah, good angle there. We'll keep this.
Your trap, GB.
Building.
My Trav.
He's matching angle. He's now slowly coming up. Come up a
Working
couple
up,
here.
Josh. Coming up.
Up a couple. Yeah, that's fine. No
This
problem
is the
there.
umpire. This is the umpire. GBR gained an advantage. GBR has to get 50 metres behind Italy.
Oh, he's given us another penalty. Let's take it with the
still
tag.
got
I think
it.
they're back to the boundary.
Stand by.
My pitch.
So Jimmy
Yeah.
Spittle gets the protest. He wants another
Two,
penalty
one,
for
foot down.
INEOS Team UK on this first leg of
Got it.
Prada Cup. Race number 5 in the finals.
He talked it through, Shirley. Jimmy Spithill was the commentator there. He wasn't talking to his crew. He was talking to the jury members, actually explaining what was going on during those maneuvers.
Yeah, umpires, you
Let's
can't.
go up into the
Just keep
sky
keen
now.
eyes against
Let's just
the
watch it
wrong
again.
side.
This is where it came in.
Yeah, this is a tough spot. The Prada boat did such a good job of going high and slow, and really the judges
GBR,
decided it was
you've
either
got
windward
about
lured or
70 metres
stuffing
of
their way
penalty,
into a
guys.
spot that they weren't allowed to go. They have to avoid a collision, both boats, but that was close.
Jimmy Spittle also made it look like there potentially was a gap. Teased him to come in there.
Still a penalty on the British boat.
You are to slow your VMG to do the
Now, this
penalty.
still has to do with the penalty off the starting line.
On the wind now. Coming up. Come on, we're behind him, Richard. What do you want, mate?
GBR, you have 10 metres to drop.
Pressure's building in 10.
10 metres.
You still have to
We'll
drop
just
so
build and
fast
tack, I
more
think,
here.
here, Ben.
That's more.
Yeah.
Happy my wheel here
You
if you
could
want.
hear the
Yeah, we're
frustration
gonna,
in Sabine asking British, what do you want us to do? Penalty still on, shouldn't be too far away before that penalty is dropped off. Let's go high to the sky. We welcome another Olympic gold medalist. Main swimmer for American Magic, Paul Goodison. High in the sky. What are you seeing?
Penalty
What do you
clear,
make of the
penalty
start?
Oh, what a start that was. The Italians did a great job there, just holding high, really putting the pressure on the space at the windward end. And now it just looks like it's hard to scrub the penalty. Every time Ben tries to lose the penalty, ends up further right in more pressure and makes a gain. So I think now the penalty should be gone. But the outside of the course is looking really strong. Always seems to be a little bit more pressure over here.
Still hasn't scrubbed the penalty, Goody. It's unbelievable that. But the good news there is INEOS isn't going slow, because if you can't scrub a penalty, that means you're actually got pretty good pace. So I guess that there is an upside to it, and there's finally up.
I think a lot of that is to do with the geometry of the course. Each time you step right, you kind of parallel in the course and not making your way up there. And Luna Rossa did a good job there.
Good pressure right if we want to double up. He'll go in.
So
he'll
despite
go one in
suffering
right
a number of penalties on this very first leg of race number 5, INEOS Team UK are well in this race. It has once again turned to attacking duel, and those grinders will be working overtime today.
It's only 14 back to ley line, so it's painful.
Going straight here, get a lay line.
Keeping it quick. Okay, pressure building in 5.
Okay, stand by. 3, 2, 1.
Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, the team that has a 4-0 lead in this Prada Cup final, are first through the top gate. But there's not much in this one. Both these boats performing well in lighter air today on course number E. Around go Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, but right on their tail are INEOS Team UK.
My wheel. Nice pressure bearing away in 3, in
Ben Ainsley, Giles Scott get them around the top gate, and they're just 15 seconds behind. Nothing in this.
So Nathan, before the start, we were watching for a while, and we watched the Prada group practice kind of a high and slow mode with both boards down that they could get down to 17 or 18 knots. So for all of us laymen in our boats at home, that's like luffing before the start, like luffing up. But in these boats, you want to slow down yet not come off the foils. That's exactly what they did in the pre-start, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll go just before.
Yeah, Ken, you're exactly right. They did a great job in that pre-start of jiving onto the windward ley line and being able to sail up high and slow. And when I saw them jive, I thought, oh, they've actually given the start to INEOS. They've gone too low. But by able to be sailing that high, slow mode coming back to the start, they kind of suckered Ben into coming in saying, hey, look, we're not laying, come on in, and then last minute shut the door and draw the penalty. If they didn't get the penalty there, Ben would have won the right-hand side. It was all about winning the windward end of that line and getting out to the right-hand side. Paul Goodison was giving us that information before the start about the right-hand side having more breeze than the left. And I think Prada absolutely nailed that start, drawed the penalty, and now INEOS have really got a tough job of trying to get back into this race.
Nathan, can you see any options on this leg for INEOS?
Well, the option for INEOS is really working out how they can get to the right-hand side of Luna Rossa. You know, the left, where they're heading right now, is a little bit softer. It's getting a bit more even. Unfortunately, I don't see big pressure changes or big shifts. I just see slightly more wind on the right-hand side than the left. So I suspect both boats are trying to want to get a left-hand turn at the bottom mark, come out into this pressure, and the only way that INEOS are going to get back into this one is if Prada actually give it to them, I think.
Goody, we're watching the data on the screen, and INEOS is actually coming into them a little bit here. Is that just they're sailing into lighter pressure on the Italian boat, or are they looking pretty quick?
Both boats are looking quite similar speed up at the moment. It just looks like INEOS are able to sail a clip lower. They did a real nice job of exiting the dive at a slightly lower angle, and Prada just look like they're coming up to their line. It's going to be really interesting here again at the bottom mark. I think the right-hand side of the course has more pressure. It's going to be a real battle. Whoever gets further to the right of the other boat, I think, will make a gain each time.
Let's go on board INEOS Team UK. They are hunting Luna Rossa.
Boundary, little lighter on the way back, so pretty much a boundary jive here.
Yep. Nice, work that down a couple. Nice there. The light spot coming. Yeah, no lower than that for now.
Okay. Ley line.
Seconds set up.
12. My pitch.
Ready? 2, 1, all down. Turn it.
He goes.
For INEOS, this is becoming far too familiar a sight, though.
So approaching the bottom gate for the first time on board the hunted Luna Rossa.
Hi, I'm on Trav. I'm okay, I see you. Okay, yours coming down.
Yep. One in left.
Copy,
One and in, it seems pretty relaxed on Luna Rossa.
Can you come up? He's into our mark too, so we're good.
3, 2, 1.
Approaching the bottom gate for the first time to complete leg 2 of 6 in race 5 of the Prada Cup finals out on course number E. And it will be Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, in and around the bottom gate for the first time.
They were listening to Paul Goodison. Even though they were laying the gate, they actually did a jive to get off to the right-hand side of the course. Very interesting and well done.
Not too far behind our INEOS Team UK. It was 15 seconds at the top gate. It's 20 seconds at the bottom gate. Despite the fact we saw on that downwind leg, they had superior speed at one point.
Going to him.
We go early on it.
Here. You have to do struggling here big time. Yep. He's tacked. He's got a boundary there. Okay, main on. Here we go. pressure coming on.
Pretty funky in here. Copy.
They want the right-hand side of the race course. Actually, Goody, to dig this in beyond the line of the Italian boat means they're almost going to be in bad air. In fact, this might be a little bit of a professional over the line, over the boundary.
Get board.
22s, big on.
Yeah, it looks like a real tricky position here for INEOS. They went round the bottom mark, had the easier manoeuvre at the bottom with straight in, so they should have been able to try and live off the hit, but the Italians did a great job there of just holding high, putting Ben in a real tricky position, and now they've kind of got the lead, and I think it's going to be really difficult from here. Each time they have this super nice high mode that's making it really difficult for the boat behind. You can hear Ben with the frustration, just it's hard to live in such a tight lane off the back of them right now.
And Goody, these are big boats and it's pretty light winds. I mean, how big an area is the wind affected by the boat in front?
It's quite a big wind shadow. That it's strange because it's not like normal boats. The wind shadow goes almost directly behind you. And the most critical time is to build speed, to get up to your target numbers out of the tack, and as soon as you have a tight lane, you just hesitate to press a little bit, or you press into the dirty air, and life just gets so much harder so fast. A real tricky position for INEOS here.
We hit him on starboard, we soft on port.
Jimmy Spittle at the top right of your screen, one of the twin helms on Luna Rossa, the other being Francesco Bruni. You can see that beautiful bow cam. I've got to say, from a television perspective, that's one of the most beautiful shots. Just any of these boats with those bow cams giving us a clear indication of how quickly these AC-75s are flying. And Luna Rossa is flying. They're extending their lead on INEOS Team UK. And you can see there, beautiful with our virtual light, just gives you a classic indication of the race course itself that they have to manoeuvre within, and also the distances between the two. Nathan, what are the options for INEOS right now?
Well, they've definitely got to not be sailing in the bad area. You could see when they came around that bottom mark, they were right in the bad area, out of the bottom mark, and they tacked right in front of us in the camera boat by the waterline. And the thing that I could notice was that they had to build at a lower angle than Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli. That could be partly due to the fact that they tacked in the bad air, like Paul Goodison was saying, but the fact that they're building at lower angles means they're just having to do extra distance. What they need to do to get into this race is to find some pressure that Jimmy Spittle and Francesco Bruni don't find, but I can just see that there's more pressure up the course, and so this lead boat keeps stretching further and further in front. And right now, from where I'm sitting, it's going to be a big mistake from Luna Rossa if they are to lose this race. I think they're looking very strong at the moment.
Combine that start, it's not too early to say he's becoming a master at this, coming back to the starting line in the that last 30-40 seconds, he's kind of had his way every time. You combine that with a little touch of wind speed, perfect wind speed for this Italian boat, 9-10 knots. These guys couldn't have written the script any better.
We just saw their heart rates flash up on the screen. Jimmy Spittle's heart rate was 79. I mean, when we talk about ice running through his veins, you would think they'd be a little bit more stressed.
Incredibly fit individual. We know he loves boxing. He's boxing on a daily basis in Auckland to maintain his fitness. And they say the fitter you get, the lower your heart rate can handle things, and you can handle pressure the whole 9 yards.
That's why ours is about 236. Is that why?
Mate, if it's 236, we're not even talking. I'm on my back as we see Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli. The distance at around 600 meters on this third leg of 6 in race 5 of the Prada Cup final. All calm, all cool on Luna Rossa right now.
Goody, not much to say about this right now from the sky. I would imagine it's a pretty, it's kind of a little cruise in the park for the Italians at this stage, if there's such a thing to do in 40-knot foiling monohulls.
It just looks like the classic, the rich getting richer. You can see the Italians sailing into more pressure. It's going to be an interesting one here, whether they tack set or bear away jibe, but definitely this right-hand side looks like the place to be for better pressure right now.
About to complete the halfway stage of this 5th race in the 2021 Prada Cup Final Series. Once again, leading all the way, Luna Rossa going through that top gate. It was 20 seconds at the bottom mark. What is it this time? How big is the advantage now as they comfortably go around? It's going to stretch right out. You can see where INEOS Team UK are.
Still okay here,
Now
no
taking
rush.
back towards the gate.
No problem, Ronnie. Stand by.
Luna Rossa with a quite wave,
2,
and
1.
we'll see at the bottom mark.
Pressure on in 3.
What a stretch on this leg, and it's certainly, as Goody said, Shirley, the rich getting richer in this one, no question. A little more breeze at the top of the race course. You sail into it now. On the other side of things, the boat behind should be able to come into them a little bit on the run, but this is a serious stretch here.
Yep.
INEOS Team UK
Pressure looks slightly better out this side.
completing the halfway point of this 5th race. They get around this top gate and complete 3 legs. But that lead is really stretched out now, 58 seconds.
You know, the course is so narrow, isn't it? That you're very, very limited in terms of options if you get behind, and particularly in the light winds, where, as Paul Goodison said, you know, there's such a lot of dirty air around the
Just a
leading
little
yacht.
softer in 10.
Boundary 25 away.
We're just looking at their VMG here. The British boat is always, you know, a click or two better all the way down the downwind leg.
Yeah, more breeze at the top of the course, most likely. Maybe a quicker boat, but for sure it seems like they're not slow downwind, no question about it. Frustration level though, Cheryl. I mean, you could hear it on that first leg. It'll be really interesting. We'll go back and we'll talk to head umpire Richard Slater in between races when we kind of break this one down. But the fascinating part about electronic penalties and the ability for the judges who sit here in the booths and actually watch the race as we watch it, except much more digitally. They have incredible digital sensors all over these boats. But boy, in this race, you got to make a case that was it. That was the race course. Those decisions, those penalty decisions. Once you got behind, as we're seeing, it's hard to catch up.
Nice boys.
And when you think about that start, while we are on board Luna Rossa, Bruni and Spittle had the bit between the teeth. They were basically, you could see it from a novice perspective. They were never going to give way.
But the beauty is they did what they practiced in the pre-start. They practiced a maneuver we had never really seen before. And like I said, if you're home in your 30-footer on your beer can series, to slow down before the start, you go head to win. But we've never seen that before because these guys are really, really careful about coming off the foils. They practiced a maneuver that I personally hadn't seen before, and it worked. And that's really what's won them the race so far.
Both teams have been out really long hours the last 3 days. And I said to Lee McMillan from INEOS, you know, have you done 1,000 pre-starts? He said, yeah, and you know, and the rest. You know, 1,000 pre-starts, 1,000 tacks. And for sure, the Italians have been perfecting that move.
Well, it just brings out the old practice makes perfect, doesn't it? And right now, they haven't put a foot wrong, Luna Rossa, as they approach the bottom gate to complete the 4th leg of 6. And as you can see, that gap has really, well, it hasn't blown out, it's just a big gap. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli with a 4-0 lead on INEOS Team UK. Bottom gate for the completion of the 4th leg in race 5 of the Prada Cup final. Again, smooth,
super in control here.
Subtle touchdown, and as Shirley has done on many occasions, kisses the water and just pops back up.
Paul Goodison up in the helicopter. So when you were competing against these guys, I guess I'm probably preaching to the choir, but it was pretty well known the Italian boat was as slippery as any of the 4 boats, and in fact could probably get out of the water at a slower speed. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, what we're seeing here, they're obviously sailing the boat incredibly well, but they also have a slightly more forgiving platform. They're able to touch and kiss and get out of the water nice and easily, and I think they're also sailing very well, but they have a bit of equipment that allows them to do that.
10 seconds out here. It's taking a little bit of depth.
INEOS Team UK approaching the completion of leg number 4 in Britannia.
Okay, up. My pitch.
It's interesting to watch Subin Ainsley cross that starboard side. There was a lack of urgency in the cross. It was almost casual saying, oh, well, that's what it is.
I was going to ask Nathan the same, that exact question. Nathan, I know these guys are all professionals, but they're humans at the same time. You think right now Ainsley's thinking about this race or the next race?
Well, it's a great question. As you say, you know, us sailors, we're all humans. We all have emotions. We try to keep the emotion out of the racing as much as we can, but you can hear the emotion and the frustration on that first upwind, and you can see the body language is. It's not in this race, unfortunately. They're too far behind, and you know, there'll be some thinking in the back of their heads right now. How are we going to beat this boat? You know, they did everything they could in that start, and they got the penalty. You know, like they won the windward end. They were both pushed both over. They're going to have to get creative in between races and find an avenue back into this one. And don't get me wrong, no one's writing them off right now. I reckon if they had held that start, not got that penalty, and actually took control of the race, we could be seeing a very different race. So for sure, heads aren't in this race right now for INEOS, and the coaching staff will be making some notes, and we're going to have a very interesting situation with a fascinating debrief, I think, between races. It would be amazing if we could hear the conversation that they're going to have, but they're going to come out fighting in the next one. Don't you worry about that.
Yes, but the hard thing here, Nathan, is that they dropped this race. You know, it's 0-5 for INEOS. A little bit of desperation is now starting to creep in, surely.
Well, Stephen, you're exactly right. They are running out of time. You know, I have no doubts these guys can win races in these conditions, but they're not doing it. And every race that goes by where they don't win the start and they don't convert the start into a win is a race that's getting closer and closer for 7 for the other team. And they're going to have 2 more opportunities. And, you know, margin for error is slowly disappearing. And it's going to be fireworks in the next one, I'm sure.
Surely it's no coincidence that we had races in the earlier rounds in the round robin series where we saw, and I think it was a record 9 passes. It's no coincidence as these boats get better, it becomes more predictable. The mistakes aren't being made. These are 0 pass races.
I think these guys are so confident in their platform. As Paul Goodison said, you know, it sort of somehow it's easy, isn't it? It's forgiving. And, you know, the more you know that about your boat, you know, the more relaxed you are, just putting it exactly where you want to put it. And with each race these guys win, they're just going to get more and more confident.
I wonder, because we found out that Francesco Bruni is left-handed, therefore when they chose which side of the boat, he wanted to do that little lever controller, the flight controller with his left hand. Can't really see that lever now, but anyway, he got on that side of the boat. But I think the genius was it allowed the aggressive spit hill to do that final approach in the start, right? I mean, what a difference that has made.
What do they call him? The bulldog? The pit bull.
The pit bull.
The pit bull. We got there in the end. I mean, Jimmy Spithill has made a career of being aggressive and accurate execution in the pre-start, and that was, wow, that was textbook.
Awesome. Off coming on now. Okay, slowly coming on.
Yeah, aiming.
It makes a wonderful sight on the Hauraki Gulf. The spectator, please, you look at our virtual eye bound, you're giving you a perfect view of what this course is and faces these boats every time. They're going to have to do it again in race number 6. And the challenger of record, well, there'll be a lot of smiles back at base right now because they haven't put a foot wrong. They were strong at the start, and they are strong in the race. And they head to the top gate for the last time. 5 legs done for Rossa, and they're heading on the homeward leg. And they will make it, barring tragedy, barring anything, they will go to a 5-0 lead in this Prada Cup final.
Should be able to see him in through the window.
Oh, you got him a little build here.
Yeah. Maybe driving here.
Stand by, boys, a little further.
Yep.
3, 2, 1. clear, we should make it. Okay, be up.
30 and 50.
25s. Pressure coming on here.
Remember when these boats first came out of the sheds? They were up, they were down, they were up, they were down. A bucking bronco watching these boats go upwind. Now they're just smooth as silk. This is the, you know, this is the train I get from Newport to New York. You know, it's just on rails, and it's really incredible.
INEOS Team UK approaching the gates, the top gate, for the final time in race number 5. And there will be questions swirling through the heads of the coaching staff. Sir Ben Ainsley, Giles Scott, how do we get a start, win a start, and get one in the bag? Because as Nathan Outridge quite rightly said, we are running out of time. 1 minute and 19 seconds, they trail Luna Rossa as they head home in race 5.
Goody, as you approach this next start, these guys are going to have, they're going to come in on port tack, less maneuvers, and really be able to kind of call their time back to the starting line. Do you guys, as sailors, think of that as an inherent advantage, having that port tack? Yeah, that port tack line coming into the start, or not? How do you see that playing out?
It really depends on the breeze. In this lighter stuff, it's obviously one less maneuver, which means you're a lot more in control of your time and distance, and you can manipulate things. As the breeze increases, you'd much prefer to be the trailing boat, coming after the other guy and put him in under pressure. So I think in this lighter stuff, there's a potential advantage there. But what we're seeing Luna Rossa do really, really well is their time and distance. The way they managed to just manipulate the time and massage the time so that there was no room to the right of them at that last start was really impressive. And again, that comes down from some really nice software, and also being able to manage your boat really well and manage the speed and accelerate at the right time. So quite impressive what we're watching right now.
Paul Goodison up in the helicopter watching the racing with us today. Welcome to the team, and thank you for your comments.
Let's just go on board for a moment. Luna Rossa heading towards the finish in race 5 of the Prada Cup final.
We got one of them, boys.
They have again sailed flawlessly. Slick comes to mind, because they haven't put a foot wrong. They were tough at the start. They basically bullied in many ways in INEOS Team UK, and they have dominated from the get-go. If you go back over all 5 races, they haven't trailed once.
I like the onboard comments by Spithill straight to Richard Slater, saying, hey, how about that? Essentially saying that was a professional foul, man. You got to hit him again, and he hit him again.
Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli, the challenger of record, approaching the finish line in race number 5 of the Prada Cup final. They are now just 2 steps away from being the legitimate challenger for the America's Cup. This is a big moment. 5-0, and they have done it once again and left INEOS Team UK in their wake. But how relaxed are they? No celebrating, no, just get on with the job, slow it down, and get ready for the next one.
Well, they're confident, aren't they? I mean, they're confident in the boat, confident they can do exactly what they want with it, and, you know, they're fast in all directions, and that confidence, Stephen, is just building and building.
2 races is a long way to go still, though. You know, we've all been there before. It's still a lot, you know, on the British side, you're still thinking we can do this.
INEOS Team UK, they were quite simply the best team. The best team in the round-robin series after what happened pre-Christmas. You simply have to ask the question, and many watching around the world going, what has gone wrong? They are 0-5. No one would have picked that they would be trailing by 5 clear races in this Prada Cup final. But that is what they are doing. In come INEOS Team UK to complete race number 5.
Okay, I have to do another jibe to get set up here. Stand by. Okay, crossing.
And they are across the line.
Clear. Clear, Lewis. Ready.
1 minute and 20 seconds behind Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli.
Turning.
0-5. That's a hell of a mountain to climb.
I don't think you can blame it. They're not going to blame it on the tools, though. I guarantee it. They're getting outsailed, Shirley.
Yeah, it was all on the start, wasn't it? And they just never recovered from that. It was all about the execution at the start.
And that's what Sue Ben Ainsley said at the presser after they were down 4-0. We've got to sail better. We have to sail better. Confirmation, race 5 of the 2021 Prada Cup final, and Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli. Perfect, yet again, 5-0 and a 1 minute and 20-second win. Game on. Race 6 of the Prada Cup final. INEOS Team UK port entry. Rossa, Prada Pirelli with starboard entry. What have INEOS Team UK got to do?
Yeah, they got to just shake it off somehow, and that was a big blow. Maybe go out to Nathan. You know, Nathan, these are tough spots, and that was I think that was a big blow. I haven't seen body language from our friend Ben Ainsley like that, maybe ever. That was a big one.
Yeah, Ken, you're right. That was a big mental blow, I think, that race. You could see the body language. You could see the way he was responding to the interviews. And for sure, he's got to dig himself out of this hole. It's a tough position that he's in at the moment.
Okay, working down here, let's.
This is the race committee. The wind sampling period is complete, and this race is live.
Nathan, back to
I was also going to...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, right now there's very different attitudes on the two boats out here right now. We've been going back and forward between the two camps. Prada took the jib down. They were looking at the weather. They put the exact same jib back up. There was a lot of chat, a lot of focus. You go over to INEOS, the jib didn't come off the lock. It stayed there. I've been chatting with Paul Goodison between races. He and I both have been talking about why they haven't changed. Paul Goodison believes that the 1.5, the smaller jib, is the right jib so long as you can foil. But if you can't take off, you need to go for that bigger jib. And INEOS actually towed up onto the foil to get going just a second ago, whereas Prada just right now trimming on and taking off as we speak. So maybe INEOS still don't think it's windy enough to go down a jib size, but for sure it's all about this start, if you ask me. If Ben Ainsley can win the start, and if he can take control of the race, he's going to have a fighting chance, because clearly right now his boat doesn't look as fast as the competitors, and so he's got to get in front. He hasn't won a start yet. If he wins a start, we're going to find out if that boat is quick enough to keep the other one behind.
And Goody, how does the race course look from Bree's standpoint? Does it look like that right side is still favored? Have we gotten enough, any more pressure?
I think there's a little bit more pressure at the top. That's a little bit more even, but I still think the right's probably favoured, but less of a difference side to side. If you look down now, you see Emirates Team New Zealand off to the left of the course, sailing around on a J2. So there's good pressure down there.
He's on time, Ben.
INEOS Team UK with port entry for this 6th race of the Prada Cup final. They come in just a little bit well. 2 minutes and 5 seconds, but in come Rossa, Prada Pirelli from the starboard side. Let the games begin again. INEOS Team UK need to win a start. So Ben Ainsley keeps talking about sailing better. The time is now.
3, 2, 1, board down.
Yep. He jives. He'll get just outside our line.
I think Ben will prefer this. The first in the box, you make the decision when you turn back. You're much more in control of your strategy and your timing.
At starboard lay there. 1:30, killing 1 minute. Boundary 16 away.
Coming up.
14 quickest, 14 away. 12 away.
Okay, working down here, driving board down.
Yeah,
Down.
board's going down.
Down with the
Here's
race.
that moment of truth right now.
It's driving, coming up here.
Soaking now.
What's the fate?
Line is 12. The starboard
This
end.
says that the Italian group thinks that they're going back too early. They decide to shift high. Watch out for that boundary.
Just got to check him on line line.
Take on, take going board.
Yeah.
My pitch.
I'm over here, 20.
Okay, killing 21 knots
Don't get too
here.
slow here. Jack speed, boys. That's the speed. Speed.
Killing 16.
He's on
Taking
copy
high
delay
when we
line.
can.
He's on copy delay line.
We're going to do one down there. Right now. Yes.
Complete
will
role
push.
reversal of that first start right now.
Killing
Time and distance for Ainsley. Can he shut the other boat out?
Okay, coming down now. They're watching it.
You got eyes on him, killing 10.
Yeah. Big down now.
Yep. Killing.
Coming up hard. Up.
10.
Okay, up hard. One more. Easy.
5. He goes again.
Hold that. That's good. Racing.
He cannot shut
Okay,
it.
one's going to be late. All the way up. He's going to be late.
15 seconds, Ainsley could finally have his control off the starting line.
Yeah.
Killing 2.
You and the line. You and the line.
Charge.
10, 9, 8, 6,
We are racing.
Big gap between the two right now, though, Shirley. You might have let him off the hook a little bit.
Use that speed.
Race
Nice.
6 of the Prada Cup final between Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli and INEOS Team UK. Clean start, game on.
We've seen the boat on the left side, on the high side of the screen, have advantage here because they get to tack when they get into this boundary. They have boundary abilities to go onto port tack. This is the crucial moment. That first cross is the crucial moment of the race.
We see the British boat squeezing up, closing that gap. They've done well here, the British boat.
They went early on Prada. They didn't even push them into that boundary limit. Nathan, they showed pretty good height right there, the Brits did, and able to kind of shake these guys off early.
Yeah, Kenny, exactly right. That was a really good start by INEOS Team UK. Defended the leeward end of the line nicely. I think it's all going to come down when they come back together again. Who makes the cross here? You know, INEOS needs to make the cross. They'll be on port tack when they come back together. If Luna Rossa get a piece of them and get them on starboard tack, then I fear we'll see the same result. But if INEOS make the cross, we could have a race on here, guys.
This is the drag race across the racetrack, Shirley. This is the drag race for control. This is it right now.
Still on port. Nice, good speed.
Remember, we're liking the right-hand side of the course. So we just need to watch out for that. Well, let's watch the Italian pace.
Goody, what do you think? Right side again? What are you liking out there? How are these two boats going to come back together? What's your call?
Can out, maybe a touch, I don't know.
Looks like the Italians are making it's the whole way across here on port. They're just a little higher at similar speed. So I think now they've tacked, it's going to be very marginal cross for INEOS. I think they're in a good position here to lead bow underneath and lead them back across.
It will be hard for him to lead bow. Force down. He's lead bowing.
Okay, get board.
We're looking to slowly trim up.
24s. This line.
First cross to INEOS. Haven't said that in a long time, Shirley.
Options for the ley line, back the other way. Breeze is slightly in the left here.
Moving on. Okay, speed's getting there.
What do you reckon at the top upwind here, Ben?
Surprise, Ben has
all right on the left, just all right.
Still better on the right-hand side here. I'm surprised they're allowing such a big split. Have to go full lead into the last intersection.
On boundary, I suppose.
It's off the patch here, then pressure back.
Big split.
He won't get delayed.
Big split.
Okay, pressure building in 5.
I'm with Goody on this one. I'm surprised they hung it out there all the way to the other side of the race.
Do you think there's a slight nervousness about speed and tacks and manoeuvrability on the British boat, Kenny?
There's something about learning how to, and I know I'm talking about the greatest Olympic athlete in sailing history, but they haven't won a race in a while. Sometimes you kind of get out of your own comfort zone.
Let's head on board Luna Rossa, potentially for the first time in this whole Prada Cup final series. They're trailing.
This looks like pressure, best pressure is top left right now.
Copy.
Another close cross coming.
A little pressure coming back in.
He's coming to intersection, same as before.
He's probably on lay, is he?
I don't think so. No, that's a negative.
Right here.
On the edge.
Taking some height. Coming up here.
Yeah, just across.
We have to follow him here.
No problem.
Nice work.
Stand by. 3,
Full pressure after
2,
him.
1.
Good call,
Okay,
Giles
I
Scott.
think we've got to
No
we go
problem.
right
The best comment there was no problem. 40 knots coming at each other. No sweat. We got this.
Okay, my wheel.
And here's a small moment that will make the team on INEOS Team UK feel so much better. For the first time in this Prada Cup series, they head through the top gate, leading Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli.
Yeah, steer down. 3, 2, 1. Clear.
Around go Luna Rossa, 8 seconds behind.
And trimming.
Okay, back it up if you want.
Yes, cross.
Got to
So
lead him
good
out or
pressure.
go all
He's
the way?
going live. He's going live. Thinking about going
I
here.
think,
3,
yeah, we
2,
can
1.
go.
Board down.
Here we go.
angle for Bill, 32s, 34s. Got a little bit of pressure up there.
Nathan, we look at the race course here, and we still notice that these guys have their biggest jib up, the J1, and on the Italian boat, they have a smaller jib up. Still, pretty big difference between sail plans right now, isn't it?
37s.
Yeah, you're right, Ken. There is a difference, and we were all thinking that bigger jib was holding him back, but there was no holding him back on that upwind. They obviously sniffed out something out of the left to make that cross at the top, and now we have roles reversal in this race. We've now got INEOS in front for the first time, and the question is, are they going to slowly get away? Is the lead boat got such an advantage? Or is Prada fast enough, and are they going to get back into this race? It's looking pretty stable out here in terms of pressure, so it could be a bit of a boat speed race from now.
Stable from side to side, Paul? Well, what are you thinking from way up high?
The pressure looks more even side to side, but it's still ever so streaky. I think you heard the commentary there from the Italian boat, from Keko, saying they're going light in front. Now's a good time. And I think that's what it's all about. It's just trying to drive before you get light. Doing your driving, more pressure. There's a big BMG gain than waiting until you get light and then driving in the lighter stuff. But we have a great race on here. I can't wait to see how this unfolds.
We have seen a general increase in pressure, and it's up to 12.5, 13 knots now at the bottom of the course.
My rudder, my trap, yeah.
Leg 2 of 6 in the 6th race of the Prada Cup final. And it's INEOS Team UK who quite simply need a win to stay in this Prada Cup final. They do not want to be going into the shed tonight with no wins, 0-6. Are we seeing the start of something? Long way to go yet. They hold the lead on Luna Rossa right now.
Sailing confidently, also you can make a case, Shirley, that they're sailing like a boat that doesn't think it can maneuver as well as the other boat, right? Not, they're ahead, but they don't mind legging out to the other side of the race course. So it's funny, it's kind of an interesting philosophy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that initial tack they did on the boundary on that upwind, they looked slow, and I think since then there's been a lot of dialogue between Ben and Giles about pressure and which side, and a lot more sailing your own race, sailing the course, sailing what you've got, rather than being super aggressive on your opponent.
On average. Copy. Guys. Probably okay, 10 seconds out here. 2, 1.
INEOS Team UK at the bottom leg for the first time, the bottom gate. And if you're watching this in the middle of the night in the UK, you will be pretty happy about this. Don't fall off your seat. Don't spill your cuppa. But INEOS Team UK in race 6 are leading Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Are they on the 3rd leg, on their way to their first win of the Prada Cup final? Only time will tell.
My rudder.
Aggressive maneuver at that bottom mark there, Nathan. I thought the Brits did a nice job setting. The Brits did a nice job setting up the Italians to round the same mark, but it was a tricky little, beautiful move. It showed just how maneuverable that boat really is.
Yeah, I think INEOS did a great job of him making sure Prada followed him around, but then Prada instantly straight to get out of phase. As Paul Goodison was saying, it's a little bit streaky out here, and if you're the lead boat, you wouldn't want to allow too much leverage right now. So INEOS rolled straight into attack. I expect when they come back together here, INEOS is going to start to shut this race down. It'll be a face tack in the next one, and then they'll be trying to push them up the left-hand boundary, I suspect.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all going to be about protecting the right, so you be tight on port, so try and force the Italians back to the left-hand side of the course, and holding a loose cover on starboard, so you're always staying to the right of them. It always looks like INEOS have got more pressure at the moment as they go across here, so I'm expecting an attack straight in front of their line here.
Setting up, that's crossing. Not long. In. Ready? 5, 3, 2, 1.
I travel. Take shot maybe here. Big righty.
Big righty, yeah.
Big righty as reported by Francesco Bruni. which means a right-hand shift, which, like our
3, 2, 1,
commentators out on the water call, definitely always favors the boat to the right, which would have been INEOS. And INEOS did it. You know, Shirley, it seems to me when you and I call that the boat's going to tack on another boat, they never do. But Goodison's here for 5 minutes, and he nailed that one.
Come with us. Good for us. Okay.
INEOS Team UK holding steady on this
55.
third leg upwind.
Out of this pressure.
Luna Rossa's got probably not really able to chip into that lead at the moment, which has been sitting around 200, 240 metres on leg number 3, the halfway mark of this 6th race. Confidence will be building on the INEOS Team UK boat.
5, 2, 1. Now.
Boards down.
Your pitch. Take on board. Yeah. Grab.
3 is on here, boys.
Yes.
3 is on. Stand by. 3.
Pressure on the left.
2, 1, 4 now.
Got options to ley line here, Ben. Sevens. I think we go all the way to ley left turn.
Luna Rossa happy to just keep tacking. I mean, they're so manoeuvrable.
Nice round.
A good pressure on 5.
Pressure increasing, yeah.
What's really interesting, Sheila, is listening to the talk between Giles Scott and Sabine Ainsley. Confidence is a little bit up. Chance just got a little bit more real.
Okay, nice there, good numbers.
Different when you're leading, right?
They have something to talk about, right? They actually have a choice to be made. The other boat, when the boat's ahead, is dictating your tactics. There's really not a whole lot to talk about.
Also, Stephen, it's still really close. There's a lot of decisions to be made.
Yes, well, there was a part of that leg where Luna Rossa was starting to eat into that lead, but again, INEOS Team UK finding the wind, finding the shifts, and just holding that comfortable 200, 240 metre lead.
Ley line 16 out.
Yeah, it's okay.
Seems like that was a really nice ball by INEOS there, just to carry on to the right into this more pressure. And in the end, Prada ended up doing 2 more tacks, and in this lighter breeze, the tacks are quite costly, so I think we'll see a little bit here.
2, 1. Down. Turning.
Okay, go board. High pitch.
Okay,
My wheels. High the left here.
Okay, 6s.
Might struggle a little here.
Yeah, just going to have to speed.
Pressure down. 5.
Okay, taking a little bit of height now.
Yep. Working up.
Can they lay on the way in here? It looks like
there's
they're on
pressure on the left
lay
mark,
line. They have nice control of this racetrack right now
jive out this left turn.
on the INEOS boat.
It does look lighter if we extend.
Still light spot coming in now, no pressure back.
It'll be a
It's amazing how they're moving these travelers now, Shirley. The aggressiveness with the travelers. They're almost steering the boats with the travelers.
INEOS Team UK at the top gate, complete the halfway mark of the 6th race, excuse me, as they round the mark and head down for leg number 4.
Good angle.
Where is Luna Rossa, Prada, Pirelli? Have they gained any ground? They were 21 seconds behind at the bottom gate.
Better inside here, Ben, General.
And they've made up some time. Not a lot, but they've made up some time. 18 seconds.
We match him. Getting light here. Pressure's better inside.
Want to jive?
I think so, yeah.
Stand by.
Ready?
Okay. 40, lefty, pressure. Board.
Ride this out a little.
Yeah.
That's it.
I will.
Okay. No higher than that. Okay, 29s.
He's going straight.
Yeah, copy. Actually, it'll be rebuilding it on quite soft on the other side.
Go straight,
Nice to him underneath.
Yeah, we go a little this way then. Do you want to have a look, Pietro, my truck?
Yeah.
Onboard commentary on Luna Rossa. Pietro Savello taking a look for the breeze. He's really, especially downwind, Shirley, he's become a much more aggressive part of the afterguard. Tactical decisions.
Very experienced 49er sailor from the Olympic circuit, and as this event has gone on, he's become way more vocal, way more useful on board.
The deeper we head into this race, the more confident INEOS Team UK and Britannia looks to potentially bag their first win of this Prada Cup final series. Ben Ainsley has been going on about saying we must sail better. Clean start by both. It was always suggested by Nathan Aldridge on our Chase Boat 1. If they can get a good start, then it's a race and a half. Well, it's becoming more than a race and a half. This could be 1 point in the bag for INEOS Team UK.
INEOS are tramping away, aren't they, on this leg? I think they got extra wind, good angle. Goodness, they've nearly doubled the lead.
My wheel forward. My pitch.
Okay, 30s.
Something about that slippery Italian boat, you know, just how it goes through the water, how it glides. I don't know. If I were on this boat, I would still be fearful. This is still Luna Rossa conditions. Let's call it that way. This lighter air.
Even with a lead like that?
Oh, no, hey, don't get me wrong. This is dominant right now, but still, those guys behind, they're not, I keep saying it, they're not slow. Seems like the obvious.
Cracking shot of virtual eye looking at your course number E on the Hauraki Golf Waitemata Harbour of the Maraitai Beachlands course, which actually wasn't one of the favoured courses at the beginning of this whole series. That would have been course C. But because of restrictions, we're out on course the back paddock. Well, the back paddock right now is doing okay for INEOS Team UK. They like to muck it in.
Oh, you're here. Okay, perfect. Good pressure coming now.
Such a lot of pressure in this race for the British outfit. Benny. They had to deliver in the start.
Pressure, both mental pressure and Goody, it looks like physical pressure. Nice pressure out there in the race course, breeze-wise.
Yeah, no, the breeze looks to be up just a click at the moment, which I think the big difference between the teams at the moment is that the British guys are managing to exit their drives just a little lower, and it seems to be a little nicer, but then I think some of that's coming into the gym, and it'd be interesting to see what Prada do here.
INEOS Team UK complete 4 legs of 6 in race 6. And they have stretched the lead. That's right, we're talking about INEOS Team UK stretching the lead on Luna Rossa, who have been so dominant in this Prada Cup final series. How the worm can turn.
Just normal rounding to righty too.
Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli.
Hey boys, normal turn up.
About to complete leg 4 of 6. It was 18 seconds at the top gate. 32 seconds at the bottom gate.
Up. Max is one back shot.
It's amazing how much faster you look and feel when you're ahead, Shirley. I mean, these things sound like obvious comments, but INEOS, the whole package just looks better this race. I mean, it looks more crisp, it looks under control, the communication on board is better. What a concept.
Well, you have to ask the question, because we keep saying, why, after dominating the round robin series, did they fall to 0-5? And I keep asking the question of you guys, had they maxed the performance of the boat out? And you keep coming back to me quite right and saying, hang on a minute, pal, it's about the sailors and people doing the job on their boat.
Well, they do things in chunks, obviously. They went 0-5 in the Christmas series. Sorry, 0-6 in the Christmas series before then winning the entire round robin. Now they're back to 0-5, so maybe, hey, maybe this is just how they do things, you know?
You think Subinese likes that? I would say no.
Shirley's been saying all along,
not his MO.
He likes getting behind early and making great comebacks, right?
He's renowned for it. He's absolutely renowned for it.
So I think any time from...
What do you want to go here?
Yeah, any time from here. I think.
Okay, setting up.
Crossing. My pitch. Yeah.
Ready.
One boards down.
On it.
Pressure is generally down.
Yeah.
We're hearing that high level of trust between Ben Ainsley's tactician Giles Scott. We got so used to hearing back in the round robins.
Copy. No look tack, let's.
Copy that.
Is he still on port?
Still on port. Port down. Step up.
Port down.
Coming on.
Turning.
Luna Rossa's come back into him a little bit on this leg here so far. And Goody, you think this is a wind strength thing? Because I heard Ainsley say that breeze seems to be dropping a little bit.
It's hard to tell from up here. It looks very similar, the breeze, to what it was earlier. I think as we talked about the jib sizes earlier, the bigger jib obviously is a little slower through the tacks and a little better to exit the drive slow. And I think what we saw on the last run, them stretch out a little bit, was a lot to do with the driving. And I think the more they tack upwind here, the more we're likely to see the smaller jib, just a little bit less drag through the tacks, make the gain and slowly creep back into this. There's going to be plenty more racing here, and I expect to see Luna Rossa just try and engage and get some more tacks in here.
So we are not done here in race number 6. The lead has been sitting at around 240 and 270 metres between these two boats. Look at it now. It's at 140, 30 and counting down. So, wow, this next cross.
Looks like a left-hand shift out there right now, though. Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, just us in the lay line, I think. Copy. No problem with him.
Didn't hit him on the first encounter. They hit him on the second one, and I guess that was because they wanted to get to the left of them to pick up this left shift that's coming across the course. It also means they're going to make the top mark with one more tack to go. So Luna Rossa there have just made their tack. They've got another one to go. INEOS are going to make lay line.
A little more pressure
I think they're going to go all the way to lay line here as opposed to hitting them. And they're just sort of selling the wind a little bit more than the competitor at the moment. Little gain for Luna Rossa, as you can hear Jimmy Spittle say there, but I think INEOS still have a big enough lead, a comfortable enough lead that they should be able to hold on to a lead at the top mark and stretch away on the downwind.
22 canto.
Okay, nice there.
Set up here,
Crossing.
10 seconds on the box.
Okay, I'm ready.
8 on the box.
Amazing shots of these things just ripping through the water, isn't it? You just can't get used to this. How the world of sailing has changed forever thanks to this class.
And you never get tired of it. Never get tired of these AC-75 foiling monohulls that comfortably, in a blink of an eye, hit 40, 45 knots.
Coming into this top mark, they probably went out once we zoom out. Looks like INEOS is on ley line, but that's also going to create a split. I mean, the Italians are slowly coming back into it.
Okay.
How big is this moment as we finish the penultimate leg of race number 6?
It's going to be a split at this gate as well. I think you're going to see INEOS roll into a jibe pretty quickly and try to stay in the same water on this downwind leg. Wow, big comeback.
INEOS Team UK running the top gate for the last time. But they are now being hunted from Luna Rossa. It's not that far. They have dragged in some time. Believe you me, it was 32 seconds to the bottom gate. It's 9 seconds with one leg to go. Hold on.
Driving, but good phase.
Shirley, I'm surprised they didn't go earlier. Again, they're just spreading out the race course from time to time here. A little more than would be for my liking, but it just looks like a boat. Maybe they're not quite as comfortable either in their boat speed or their ability to maneuver.
I think it's quite patchy as well, and we saw that on the upwind leg. You know, there was moments where actually it was quite light, and the lighter it gets, the less confidence INEOS is in maneuvers.
Yeah, you're right. It is looking a little bit more patchy out there, but I think INEOS did a nice job there, just jiving on the front of an edge of pressure. I think they timed that quite well. It'd be interesting to see here what happens behind, because they're running down the course into a couple of lulls as we look further down the course, just outrunning the pressure bands.
That's an intersection back for 2 and into finish.
Down a couple there.
Tension has just ramped up a notch on this final leg of race 6. Although that INEOS lead has just expanded somewhat. It was around 50 odd coming into the top gate. Now it's expanded out to around 150, 160, and it keeps on going.
Nathan, final stretch of the racetrack here. Which position would forget the ahead behind position? Which position on the race course do you like from a breeze standpoint?
Yeah, and Paul's saying it's actually lighter as you go down the course, and these boats are traveling faster than the wind speed. So it's almost as if the boat behind has the advantage because they're staying in the breeze a little bit longer. So INEOS, this lead is going to keep shrinking. It's going to get tighter and tighter all the way to the finishing line. And it's all about INEOS trying to just stay between Prada and the finishing line. I think they're far enough ahead to make it comfortable, but to answer your question, definitely more breeze up the course, getting lighter towards the finishing line.
It's all about controlling this final leg.
And INEOS just did that, Stephen, by jiving in that position, gave up maybe a tiny bit of their lead, Shirley, but now you kind of feel as the boat ahead, you got a little more control.
There's no panic though on the British boat. They're just taking their time, manoeuvring when they want to.
The grinders might be panicking, the heart rates might be going through the roof, but that's what they're paid for.
Racing towards the finish in the 6th race of the Prada Cup final.
Really well done by the British team. Coming into the finish line here, great control on this last leg. Very proud of them for a variety of reasons.
The Prada Cup final is far from over. INEOS Team UK are heading towards the finish line, and they will bag their first win in this final. It may be a small win, but it's a significant win. The comeback might just be on for INEOS Team UK. You can imagine the relief amongst this whole organisation. And wherever you're watching around the world, if you're an INEOS fan, you can have a dance, a little jig. And for the first time in the final, Rossa, Prada Pirelli get beaten.
They're running up, guys. You guys happy if we sail and pass the spectators?
Shirley, what would you say? What would you say? Would you say finally, or would you just say great job? Because I mean, obviously they got the start, they got that first cross, but man, oh man, they didn't. The Italians don't make it easy in this breeze condition, do they?
They're not giving anything away. I mean, so much is about the start. There's a great shot of the grinders there. We actually have some of the stats of the grinders. They were working at 93% of heart rate throughout that race. But so much is about executing the start, isn't it, Kenny? So tough.
One moment, and your fortunes can change looking forward. Confirmation, race number 6 of the Prada Cup final. Smiles, look at that. The Union Jack is at the top. INEOS Team UK get their first win by 14 seconds.